Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Monica, and for today's video, we're going to talk about all of the books that I read for the month of April. So by far, this month has probably been my worst month yet. I only read 4 books. I think this is the lowest books I've ever read so far. I already said that. I don't know why I keep saying that, but I only read 4 books. So, you know what? I think I'm putting too much pressure on myself. You know, I am a mom. I have a busy life. Summer's around the corner. We are doing a lot of fun activities. And so I'm just going to give myself some dang grace, you guys. And I'm telling myself it's not a competition. And at least I'm still reading. That's for sure. At least I'm still reading. Let's talk about the first book that I read for the month of April, and that would be Nightbirds by Kate J. Armstrong. Now, I've talked about this book before. During my March wrap-up, I gave a thorough synopsis of it. I gave this book a 4-star. It was very, how should I put it? It was very interesting, but it was very slow a lot of the times, but it still kept me glued to the pages, if that makes any sense. It sounds like I'm literally contradicting myself. But this book is a YA fantasy. There's also a little bit of a romance in there, but it's mainly YA fantasy, and it's about a group of 3 girls who have magical powers. And in order to receive their powers, they have to basically kiss you, and you get to receive their powers X amount of time. I almost describe the setting of this book as they live in this prestigious house, and it almost feels like a brothel because the woman running this business basically has the men come in, pay X amount of money to have a couple of minutes with these girls where they can absorb their powers. So this book was super interesting. Like I said, it was slow for most of it, but it still kept me wanting to read more. You get to know the characters very well, what they're each going through in their lives, how they're trying to manage their powers, how they're discovering their powers. It's very interesting in that aspect. It does have the Great Gatsby feel to it, and I love the Great Gatsby, so I really liked the setting of the book, the ritzy wardrobe, the events. The setting was really, really good for me. However, at the end of the book, it says to be continued. I had no idea that this was part of a series at all. I had no idea, even though on my Goodreads account, it says book 1. I literally spaced it, overlooked it, had no idea this was part of a series. So during a certain part of the book, I was to the point where, yes, I was intrigued, but I really wanted to just finish the book, honestly. I really just wanted to finish the book and move on to the next. Towards the end, when it says to be continued, I was like, what do you mean to be continued? So with that being said, I am definitely going to be picking up the second book. Like I said, this was a 4-star for me. I enjoyed it. It just lacked a little bit of pickup, if that makes sense. I wanted the story to pick up a little more than it did. But overall, I enjoyed this story. It's a great book. I highly recommend it. And then I read In a Jam, if you didn't know, by Kate Canterbary. This was on my April TBR. I stuck with it. I stuck with my April TBR, halfway stuck with it, let's just say. I was very invested in this story in the beginning of the story, but then it got to a point where I was just frustrated with the main character. She was so oblivious to everything that was going around her as far as how the love interest was showing his affection to her and doing all these great things, and she for some reason did not see that at all. She was completely blind. And I normally don't get frustrated with books like this where it's a slow burn because I love my slow burn romances, but this book just frustrated me so much because it was so obvious what her love interest was doing, and she was just so oblivious. I also didn't like she is not confident within herself. I just did not like the lack of confidence that she had throughout the entire book. Even though Noah, which is the love interest, would show her and tell her how amazing she was, she still didn't believe it, or she still was oblivious to the whole thing. So if you didn't know, this is a small town romance, and this is Noah and Shay's love story. They were friends for a long time. They met in high school. They did everything together. They were best friends. And the entire time, Noah has had a crush on Shay. He has never professed his love to her. He was kind of an outcast in high school, very, very shy, and Shay was the popular girl but for some reason would hang out with Noah. They would ride to school together, and they just built this beautiful friendship. Noah has always loved Shay, and he has never confessed it to her. And things happen where she moves away, they move on with their lives, years go by. And then Shay's grandmother ends up passing away, so Shay finds herself having to move back to her small town to inherit her grandmother's tulip farm. The only problem is that Shay has to be married in order to inherit this farm. And within this small town, obviously Noah never left. He has stayed there, and he owns his own businesses. And it's their romance. And again, this book had so much potential. The steamy scenes were there. I enjoyed those. The main character, Shay, she just annoyed me the entire time. She was so oblivious to Noah's gestures. It was very frustrating. So I ended up giving this book a 3, I believe. And I might change it to a 2. I love the setting. I love that it took place in a small town. I love the talk about the farm animals and the farm and the things that the people do there. That was amazing. But it was just very frustrating to me. It was so slow. It almost put me in a book slump. So for now, a 3-star. I might change it to a 2-star. But then I read Soulmate by Sally Hepworth. Now this is a thriller, and this was such a good book. This is about a married couple who moves into a beautiful cottage that overlooks a cliff in this ritzy little small town. The setting of this book is immaculate, you guys. It is perfect for spring, perfect for summer. You can picture the waves over the cliff, everything. It's perfect. It's a perfect summer thriller. This couple, Gabe and Pippa, move into this really cute little cottage that overlooks the cliff, and they get a killer deal. They had no idea that the reason why they got a good deal on this little house was because it is on a famous cliff that is known for people committing suicide. So her husband, Gabe, takes it upon himself to try to save these people, and he's become very successful at it. He finds his mission to try to save these people from committing suicide, until one day he doesn't. Until one day this woman jumps off and he doesn't save her. And then you see his wife, Pippa, questioning everything because she might have seen maybe him pushing her down, or she has no idea what she saw. Then she starts to question everything. Is Gabe the perfect man that she thinks he is? Is her marriage the perfect marriage? She starts to question every single thing. And so this book was so interesting. You get dual points of views. The way this book was written was so fast-paced. I love the short chapters. Every chapter, I just wanted to keep reading more. It kept me on my toes. I really enjoyed this book so much. I just love books with turmoil marriages, you guys. I enjoy it. I eat it up. I'm not going to say too much about it because I don't want to give anything away, but I gave this book a 5-star. I enjoyed it so much. It was a great book. I highly recommend if you're looking for a thriller with the right setting, with the right spring and summer vibes, turmoil marriage. Highly, highly recommend. So because I read The Soulmate, I could not get enough, and I was in a thriller mystery mood. Therefore, the last book I read was Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough. I'm so sorry if I am mispronouncing her name. So sorry. Oh my flipping gosh, you guys. I finished this book last night, and I am just so blown away by how this book manipulated me so much. I enjoyed this book so much. This is also about a turmoil marriage. So you follow Louise, David, and Adele. David and Adele are a married couple. And Louise, who's a single mom, just newly divorced, meets David at a bar one night. They hit it off and they end up kissing. The next day, she goes into the clinic that she works for because she works at a psychiatrist's office. And she realizes that the new doctor that she's going to be working for is no other than David. It's very awkward for them because they met at a bar. She thought he was single, and he turns out to be married to Adele. I really can't say any more because then I'll give everything away, but it does say in the back of the book that Adele and Louise bump into each other and they become really close friends. The story goes on from there. Louise just becomes very obsessed with this married couple, and I'm telling you right now, this book is so manipulative. It is so sick. It is thrilling, it is gripping, it is creepy, it is terrifying, eerie. You will never see whatever happens in this book coming. I feel like there's a couple plot twists in there that I was like, oh my gosh. You get multiple points of views, the chapters were short. I gave this book a 5-star and I'm just mind blown on how this book left me feeling towards the end of it, you guys. I highly recommend, if you haven't read Behind Her Eyes, you need to read it. It was adapted into a Netflix series. I can't wait to watch the show. Obviously, it's probably not going to be as good as the book, but I'm excited. 5 stars for me. All right, and that concludes my whopping 4 books for the month of April. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. I really appreciate you guys sticking around and watching me rant about my books. I love doing this. I love books. I have a passion for reading, and I'm just so excited to share this with you guys. So that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching again, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!